Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 23 of the anime series Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. And man, are we seeing the true colors of McGillis finally coming to the fore. Here is a cat that I really wanted to be invested in and believe in, that he had the best case scenario for Gjallarhorn at the heart of everything he was doing. You know, the impetus of every drive and every action he was taking. And to some extent that remains true, but as we see, he is a master manipulator, right on par with and cut from the same cloth from his own father, who starts this episode very much getting to the heart of Carta's own, holdover guilt for having failed in her last run-in with Tekkadan and Mikazuki respectively, having taken the life of Biscuit, which is now the driving force for Tekkadan in everything that they want to do. They want to seek vengeance and take down Gjallarhorn and the people who took their brothers' lives. And, it's quite interesting to see McGillis is basically also in that fray, using Carta, using Gylo, using Ein, using all of these figureheads to this movement of reforming and completely taking down from within what Gjallarhorn is. And he's willing to do so using whatever, sort of capabilities he can, whether this false sort of kinship and agreement between Cordelia and Tekkadan, whether with these, lifetime chums that it was very much, he'd grown up with Gylo and Carta respectively, and using things like the mutual respect they had for each other, or at least in the case of Carta, he's basically applying to that idea that she treated him equally. She was one of the rare few who did, and you would think there would be some level of honor on his part to, hold over, and he wouldn't be so manipulative. He wouldn't send these friends of his, for lack of a better term, into the fray, into, sort of the oncoming storm, and yet he has this greater purpose. He has this greater sense of using whatever machinations he can, whomever he can, no matter how they were once closely related to him or not, or how honorable their intentions. If they don't quite align, he will use them to the fullest extent of his capabilities to seek the end to justify his means. And it's incredible that, because of course we see Carta with two of her subordinates, basically coming and confronting the train with all of our heroes, all of Tekkadan, Cordelia, Meribit, who, Meribit really, in the last couple of episodes especially, is the most resounding character to me, because I share her viewpoint. I'm like, kids, you're wrong. Don't seek vengeance. Don't try to reap havoc and, risk your own lives for some sense of honor and duty to your fallen comrade who, I like that some of the dialogue was very much echoing my own sentiments in the, end of the last episode in my discussion video about, here we have this very specious movement now for revenge, for vengeance, to take the blood of those who took our brothers. And you had the old man mechanic, you had Meribit, they were like, this can't be, this isn't the right choice to make. And the old man mechanic, for his part, he was basically saying it's too late. What can we really do? What change can we effect in these children now that they've made up their minds and they have a driving force? And yet, in the form and function of the destruction wrought by Mika going up against Carta in this episode, having been ambushed, he is bloodthirsty. He dispatches her two, sort of subordinates very quickly. And I mean, she looks all but dead. Once again, it's like, is Carta actually dead now? Is that a thing now? Because she survived the last time, and I was really shocked and surprised by that. It looked like Gylo, who she mistook for McGillis coming to save her toward the end of this episode, was very much, of the mind that this is the end for her. This is all there is, and, don't worry about the things we still have yet to do. Rest yourself, in other words, let yourself pass on, let yourself give into death and the comfort of it, because we will take on the mission from here. With those parting words, I have to assume Carta is now dispatched. But you just saw how bloodthirsty Mika was, and all the kids of Tekkadan needed to see it. And from, a certain extent, I understand what they're going through, and I can see where they're coming from. But I'm very much embodied by Meribit's own plight to say, this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this. You know, like you're becoming the monster you want to take down by becoming as vicious as said monster and all this kind of stuff. Where is the diplomacy? Where is the talk? Well, we know that Gjallarhorn are up to dirty business. We know that they have carried out many dirty deeds, and, you know, look at what they did in Dort Colony. I mean, they walked in there and they just started killing, you know, ad nauseum. And to that degree, it's like, well, how else can you fight this bigger bully, this bigger system, if even the sort of politico aspects are so manipulated behind the scenes? Look at Makanai. He's just like, you know, as long as you get me to where we're going, I don't care who lives and who dies. And you got all these Gjallarhorn representatives, you know, most notably McGillis' own father, who's like, we can't let this happen. He's got his own machinations, as we saw. He wants penultimate power. He has positioned all of these pawns on the playing field to most well benefit himself. And Tekkadan and Cordelia are respectively standing in his way. So he's going to use whomever he can. Much as McGillis, as we now see, is going to use whomever he can, to whatever lengths he can, to drive home the destruction of Tekkadan and the quieting of Cordelia, to eschew them from any sort of, you know, taking of that power. And that is mind-bogglingly, you know, captivating and irritating as well. Because here, you know, Orga, when he figures this out, who else could it have been to give Karta the signal? And we already saw that McGillis was talking very pointedly to Karta and Gylo. And Gylo, fueled by that added aspect of now the Alea Vijana system has, you know, Ein has been aligned to it. And it looks, at least by the computer screen, that he doesn't have any limbs left. Like, he's just housed in this thing as the torso and head, and he's, you know, mechanized through this thing. I don't know if that's correct or incorrect, but pretty brutal, pretty vicious, pretty insane. And Ein, here is Ein, who now feels this renewed sense of pride. He's thanking Gylo for having made this decision for him, because now he sees that he can also reap vengeance. And it's killing Gylo because this is the last thing Ein would have wanted prior to this, you know. So, I mean, it's all just absolutely tantamount insane. And I have to wonder if there's any chance Karta might have survived, if she's going to go through this process similarly to Ein, to match wits with these Tekkadan boys who have this systematic hookup, you know, to these mobile suits, the Alea Vijana system. I mean, Gjallarhorn, that's their one sort of true call to maybe being able to face off on equal footing with Tekkadan and Mika and all of that, is if they have pilots, for lack of a better term, who can command these mobile suits on a similar, you know, sort of playing field, similar level. And it's just like, everybody's moving on by the end of this. We have Gylo, tuck and tail, having saved Karta, you know, in what I assume to be her dying breaths, is she thanking McGillis, thinking Gylo is McGillis, having come save her, and just the turmoil on Gylo's face. I mean, this is double time now. Not only does he have what he's been dealing with Ein, but now, of course, Karta as well. And Tekkadan, Mika has just been unleashing holy hell on them every step of the way. So I have to assume Gylo's going to step up to the plate, and he's going to be a beast in and of himself. I don't know whether to assume he would walk in and willingly, you know, adapt himself, have himself adapted to the Alea Vijana system just to go up against Mika or not. But he's definitely being bolstered by McGillis every step of the way because of McGillis' own turncoatiness and manipulative nature and all that kind of stuff. To see, you know, he doesn't even, he eschews loyalty, even childhood loyalty, even the mutual respect that was maybe misplaced, maybe well-earned, it's hard to say exactly, in their childhood relationships between Gylo and Karta. But, again, I just really resoundingly feel for Meribet, and I'm in her place insofar as saying that this is not the right choice to make, especially for Biscuit, who wanted none of this. He wanted this to be over. He wanted, you know, sort of choices like this to be the last thing he would ever have to make, or any of his fellow brethren would ever have to make again. And so it's as much as I said, it's like a slap in the face to Biscuit for Orga to be so ready to commit to this idea of vengeance, and all of Tekkadan, because they feel like they need something. They need something to show for their efforts, and they don't. While Oruga promises them, and you have that clarion call toward the end of the episode where it's like, we don't have anywhere to return to. It's all about where our destination lies ahead of us and getting there, no matter what, no matter who stands in our way. And this is a call to action for all of Tekkadan, but it's the worst choice to make, especially in the honor, the misguided honor of Biscuit, your fallen brother, who wanted none of any more of this kind of scenario. And that's why it's so captivating, man. Like, you know, I really feel for Meribit, and I have to wonder if she's going to cut ties with them at some point and walk away and just be like, I can't handle this. Even Cordelia, to a point, seemed to be reacting, you know, in a similar fashion. But, of course, she has her own mission statement, so she kind of has to go along with this, and vice versa. You know, Tekkadan has to go along with her, getting Makanai to where he needs to be and all of that stuff. It's just part and parcel of now this call to vengeance. And only bloodshed and sorrow will potentially be reaped for it. Much as I have all along the course of this series, I do find myself wondering, what is the end game? Is success truly attainable for Tekkadan? And it seems with the PV voiceover for the next episode as well, Mika seems to be trying to consider beyond the box now. Think outside the box that he's been very much encased into, following Oruga every step of the way. It makes me wonder if his chant to say anyone who gets in the way of Tekkadan from here on out is my enemy, well, does that include people potentially internal to Tekkadan? What if some of the younger kids start to have issues with this call to vengeance, start to see, you know, sort of a better call to action, or dialing it back? What if Atra decides this is not the life I want anymore? This is too destructive. We're all potentially going to die. What is Mika's reaction to that going to be? If it's someone near and dear, now opening a line of conflict with him. Is he so beastly? Is he so animalistic that he would take down even those of his own to see to this effect? I don't know. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 23 of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if you were as sort of flabbergasted at the just, you know, cruelty of Mika in smashing the hell out of Karta, did you think it was well-earned? Were you surprised by the viciousness of it? Did you think Meribit was right and correct in her, you know, saying this is the wrong choice to be making? Were you surprised by McGillis's being such a turncoat, manipulating all sides for his own purposes? I know at least one of you guys who has been commenting all through the course of my coverage of this series called this a while back, and I said, you know, I don't know, I'm kind of believing and having faith in McGillis as being aligned, you know, to Cordelia and Tekkadan's purposes. But one of you guys said it's, you know, at some point he is going to show his true colors, and it's going to be all about him and himself and whatever he's got going on. So I got to give you props there for that. But yeah, anything goes in the comments below. Love it or hate it. I'd love to hear from you. Love having that conversation. And otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.